Hello everyone, it's Tom from Gozy Gamers, and these clapping dudes behind me are Noxious and Rich. Here live at WSG, how are you guys doing?
I'm having a lot of fun here, especially with this guy.
Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun too. I feel like the event is kind of one of a kind. We have so many players from different regions. It's very different.
How is that for you as casters to experience an event at such a large scale?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. First time in China, and also seeing a lot of these players. A lot of them are new players representing regions that have never really seen any love in the Hearthstone scene. And a lot of them are doing pretty well, and we're starting to meet these guys for the first time.
Yeah, I feel like as a caster, it's kind of for the first 2 days at least, it was good and bad, because a lot of the games that you watched were not necessarily on the level that you wanted to see. So you had the opportunity to see some new players, but it wasn't quite the the level that you're used to when you just cast invitationals or bigger events. But on the flip side, now that we're onwards to like day 3 and 4, it's really going to be like I think the top tier games today. So.
I kind of like getting to watch the players who aren't quite at the highest level play against the players who are and just panic. I know that sounds like really sick, but it's nice because you always have those.
It's true.
Yeah, you always have the casters who are like, oh yeah, like they really downplay how great some of the players are, and then you have this guy who's completely out of his depth and just like not even playing and like just hero powering over and over again. So I did enjoy that the first few days. I enjoyed seeing players who just like. Really didn't know what to do against some of the best players in the world.
Yeah, I mean it's also for you as casters. You see people from regions that haven't been explored that much in the West, which we see a lot of. But I mean, seeing new players struggle a bit sadistic, but I can imagine that as a caster, it keeps things a bit entertaining, right?
Yeah, I was actually. it was definitely entertaining. It was funny too because I was over in Dubai with Nimsh, and we actually casted the Africa's Middle East region when they were qualifying for this tournament, and a few of those players were the ones who really did struggle in groups, and I had like a little bit of foresight because I had watched them qualify. I was like, they're in for kind of a rude awakening, but I'm cheering for them because they were great guys, and the guy who actually won that region, his qualification based off of that was his first tournament ever, and he won like a huge amount of prize money and got flown out to China. So even if you don't perform in pools, what a crazy experience for your first Hearthstone tournament to then go to basically the Olympics of esports.
How are you experiencing it, Noxious, to see? I mean, we've seen you for a longer time in Hearthstone casting in the West. How is it for you to experience like players from new region here?
I mean, I've already cast like events in China and people, other events from, all over the world. There have been a lot of events actually trying to get people from the grassroots from everywhere into the same tournament. But I feel like this is the most disparate like tournament field we've ever seen. Like we have people like 6-0, PNC, Neria that have just been all over the events, and then you have people who literally seem like they picked up decks online and just like. I guess like they know how to play it. They know the general idea, but the refined plays are just completely lost, and it shows. And again, like it's a mix of hilarious and what is this? Like what am I watching? It's like a train wreck, but at the same time you just can't call it that as it's ongoing. It's pretty awesome though.
You're not sparing them, are you? You're not saving them. You're just crushing them.
That's also a funny thing that you probably don't experience unless you're actually casting a match. You don't want to be me. Right, but there's like a certain moment where you just have to be like, you shouldn't do that. Like that was probably ill-advised, and I kind of took the gloves off, and I was casting with D2, and I looked over, I started to watch off of his screen, and D2 looked at me and he was just like, and I'm like, yeah, this sucks, and like D2's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, calm down. But I mean, it's all in good fun, and I really respect those players because it has to be terrifying. Like, you know who Naira is, you know who 6-0 is, and all of a sudden you're playing against them, and there's $300,000 on the line. You just flew out to China. You probably took. For a lot of these newer guys, probably took time off from work, and now you're here and you're just about to get slapped in the face.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest though, like I feel like one of the cool things too is like we got to see Perna on the main stage against 6-0. And that was super interesting because he had the nerves going. Like you could tell he was like laughing because he was so nervous, like just trying to calm himself down and making it seem like it was all cool. But like his Dragon, like the first game that he had was really solid, despite the fact that it was on stage. And the other 2 games, like not too many decisions were wrong. And it goes to show that like the nerves, a lot of people didn't believe in at first, but once you get to actually experience it, it's a totally different story. Like, it's just completely soul-crushing at times.
Yeah, and getting to go to a lot of these events, I feel like we can tell when someone has nerves more so than like someone at home, right? Usually, I feel like a key indicator that someone has nerves is when they start doing this in the camera. And tell me if I'm wrong, but anytime someone's like,
doing something like that.
and everyone's like, look, he's so confident with like. I'm like, no, dude, that kid's freaking out. Like, I'm sorry, you don't do the pistols unless you are just absolutely freaking out. It's just like, hey, I'm ready to go. Like, let's play some Hearthstone. Pew, pew, pew. Like, oh, man.
This is great. I'm happy to be here.
I am so aware that there's a camera right in front of my face. I
can't ignore it.
The second that someone starts paying attention to the camera, they know it's there, and they're not as focused on their match. It's like, think about like Sixo or Orange. They look like this their entire match. Like, they don't know that the camera's there. They're worried about the series, and that's something that comes with a huge amount of time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like one of it, too, is just learning to ignore the factors outside of the screen. Like, if you get to ignore everything outside of the screen, I think you just kind of eventually phase out of the nerves. That's what happens with a lot of pro players.
So, Rich, you are not as well known in the West yet. This is probably the biggest event you've casted yet. Tell us a bit more about yourself and how do you get into Hearthstone casting?
Yeah, so I actually, all the way over across the seas, I worked for Major League Gaming, and I was doing a lot of different games, but Hearthstone was actually the thing that pulled me into esports, and it was kind of a weird way that I ended up casting Hearthstone for the first time. I was at Major League Gaming, and I got the opportunity to cast some World of Warcraft, and the day after the first World of Warcraft tournament I casted, I had an email that said, hey, can you come to Ukraine? Starladder's doing a tournament, and they don't have anyone to cast. They loved what you did yesterday. And I was like, yeah, sure. When would it be? And they were like, oh, tomorrow. I packed my bags. I went to Ukraine, and I casted Hearthstone with a guy named Healingstat, and it was absolutely incredible. I met Vlad for the first time, and we had a good relationship, and he was like, yeah, so who are you? Like what have you? Because I've only been in it's so funny because I've only been in esports at the time. I'd only been in esports for about 6 months, and right now I'm only just about a year that I've been involved in esports. And he was just like, who are you? And I was like, I actually really like Hearthstone. That's the game that brought me out. And a few months later, I flew out to Dubai. That was the first event I casted, and that was with Nimsh. And now I'm here. So hi, my name's Rich, and hopefully I'll be seeing a lot more of you guys.
Please hire me more. What's it? And Noxious, what's it for you like to cast with someone like Rich?
I mean, honestly, it's just cool because the guy's got a super good attitude. Like, you can tell he's really playful, and it's just nice to have like more positivity in the Hearthstone like casting scene because it's very easy to get into a casting style where you just kind of are in the down low and you just ramble off and you don't really talk about.
Be very serious, right?
Right, like you just get very analytical, and I think Hearthstone's one of those games where it's already baseline super dry to watch if the players are taking their time, and you have to find a way to make it kind of interesting. And this is the kind of attitude I think is like needed in the scene. Yeah.
It's also something we see at Seed Story Cup, for example, where everybody's just trolling all over and the jokes all around, right? Is that something you think Hearthstone casting should take a direction to?
I mean, maybe not to the extent that Seed Story Cup does it, because like Seed Story Cup looks like it's a mess, but it's like very organized mess. They're trying to make it look very casual, and they're going out of their way. But I think the general attitude of the casters on the casting couch at Seed Story Cup should probably translate it over to other events, because it gives the entire event more of a lighthearted feel to it, and you can still deliver interesting analysis by doing so. Like, you don't have to tell people every single possible line of play that can be made every single time, and just let them figure it out. You accompany them with fun banter, and it can be just a good casting style.
How do you feel about those events, Rich? You haven't been to Seed Story Cup yourself, but I'm sure you watch them.
Yeah, so I actually think that the interesting thing about Hearthstone is there is a room for so many different styles, and that fun style is super important, and I feel like that can exist. And like you said, you don't need to every second be counting absolutely everything. I don't need the percentage to draw every card in the deck at all times as the viewer, but every now and then when there's one out, I need to know that that's a 20% draw. So it's finding that balance, right? And getting a good group of people who are ready to make jokes and have fun, have banter, tell the story of these incredible players who are playing, but at the same time, when need to get their hands dirty, can actually crunch the numbers, do the math, and understand the meta.
Okay, and to wrap up the interview, continuing this event, kind of semi-finals and quarterfinals are busy now. Who are you guys rooting for?
Who am I rooting for? I don't think anyone knows this, actually. No, I really am looking forward to Nyria winning, and he's going to win. So.
All right, I'm gonna go with PNC because he had a really rough ride like in the group stage. Started off like 0-2 in his group and caught it back up to 3-2. So just for that, I think it'd be cool to see him win.
Okay, thank you guys for the interview, and stay tuned at Ghost Gamers for more Hearthstone content. Thank you.